That's also true. So we have the great joy of spending a few days together and the great joy of being in the same room while speaking with you guys. So what we want to talk about is, what if life could be easier than you think? What if it was possible, with no change in your circumstance, that you could feel happier, that you could enjoy life more, with the same circumstances around you? No one told us that this was possible. In fact, we've been told the opposite, that it's your circumstances that tell you how to feel. That if you're not living in a big house, or you're not making a lot of money, or you don't have the right partner or the right job, then it's quite common to feel miserable. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if there's something deeper to see? And most of you who are here today, we know you from our community, the three principles. So most of you have had exposure to this understanding, which shows a completely new perspective. But what Dicken and I have been really focused on the past couple of years is to try and reach an audience that don't know this, that still think that it's the outside world that determines how they're feeling, what experiences they're having. And so we've become really interested in how to speak in a way that we can reach people who don't know about this, who are not interested in spirituality or even psychology, and how to speak in a language that's plain enough and ordinary enough that it makes sense to them. And this is ordinary. Like what we've learned in the past couple of years is that because we've been teaching this for so long, Dicken, of course, longer than me, but we've been doing it for so long.
Much longer.
But we've gotten into a certain kind of language, a certain kind of lingo that you all probably know. But when we start talking in this way to people who don't know about it, they go, what are you talking about? What kind of cult are you a part of? Have any of you tried speaking to your family and friends and they think you're in a cult? How many know of that? Yeah, right? And so it's taken us 2 years to write this second book of ours, because we really wanted to reach an audience that we haven't reached before. Our first book, Coming Home, was really speaking to an audience, to the reader who already knows a little bit about the principles, and so it kind of makes sense. But this is ordinary. This is simple. And so we have really helped each other to find ways to speak about this that just touches anyone, because this is very simple. And so that's what we want to talk to you about today. We want to share with you the simplicity of what we've seen. And we also know that many of you out here today are people who share this with others. And so we also want to tell you a couple of things that we've found helpful in sharing this with people, so that you may be inspired to go out and share, maybe in a little different way than you've done before. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Yeah. Hey, Natasha, sorry to interrupt you. We're getting some comments saying the volume is a little bit low. I mean, I can hear you. It feels a little low, but some people are saying they can barely hear. Other people say it's okay. So if there's anything you can do to up the volume.
Yeah. She's had trouble with this computer. I should have used mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, take your time.
We'll see if we can fix this. Hold on, folks.
Is it better?
Yeah, that's sounding.
Okay, we're sorry.
There we go. No problem.
Yeah, we should stay. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just say all of that again. No.
You were in such a flow. I didn't want to interrupt you, even though people.
Oh, you should have. You should have. I didn't see the comments. I was.
It's okay. It's all good.
But basically, what I said is, we really want to share with you something that's simple, That's ordinary. And the essence of it is that life can be simpler than we think. Life can be easier than we think. So that's the topic for tonight.
When I started my career, I was working with a lot of high schools with kids of all different ages. And if you want to learn about simplicity, try and share what you know with a 8-year-old. Boy, did that wake me up. I couldn't use any jargon, psychological terms that were at all complicated. I remember with my own grandkids experimenting, sharing something I knew, and I started experimenting with my grandson when he was 4.5 years old. So talk to a 4.5-year-old about what you've learned about thought in a way that's so simple that they get it. That's a challenge. I know my friend Dr. George Pransky would say, if you want to train somebody to be a teacher, have them go into an elementary school and talk to a class of kids. And you'll see very quickly you can't talk from your intellect. And they can tell. You have to talk from your heart, simple from your heart, or they won't pay attention, or they won't be interested. It'll seem too complicated or intellectual. It didn't matter that I had my doctorate in psychology and I was licensed as a psychologist. When I learned this, what I heard was so simple that for a year I kept saying it can't be this simple. How could it be this simple? How could I have gone all those years, all that education, become licensed as a psychologist and had 10 years of working as a psychologist, and I had no clue that 100% of what I was feeling was created by the power of thought. I grew up like anybody else going, this situation is stressing me out. The amount of work I have is stressing me out. The traffic is really getting on my nerves. The weather is bumming me out. You've hurt my feelings. Don't upset your father. So there's no surprise that when I started asking people all over the world, like Natasha, what are you feeling? You get all kinds of feelings because everybody has all kinds of feelings. But then the question that's interesting, where do you think your stress is coming from? And then you'll hear the theories. I started going out to lunch with my friends and saying, you ever feel stressed out? Yeah, me too. Where do you think it's coming from? Oh my gosh. My past, my genetics, my personality, my parents. Let me tell you about the situation I'm in. Still, this amazes me. It's to begin to really entertain the possibility that we are connected to life energy in such a way that is is creating whatever we're feeling in any moment. I'm talking to you on a laptop, computer. You would not call this thing I'm talking to you on a computer if it didn't have a power source. You wouldn't call it a computer. If you watch television, you wouldn't even have a television if it wasn't connected to a power source. So many of the things we take for granted operate in our lives because they're connected to a power source. Along comes Sydney Banks and he said, you wouldn't be a human being. You wouldn't even exist. You couldn't exist. You wouldn't be a human being if you weren't connected to a power source. I mean, how logical is this? How simple? And when Sid had his enlightenment experience, he realized that power source is so intelligent, knows how to create everything in the universe, including your body. It blows me away. You get two cells, they have a party, and suddenly you start getting more and more cells, and then some of those cells become your heart, some become your lungs, some become your skin, it knows how to do that. And then it creates all these systems, organs, and then all these systems, respiratory system, circulatory system, nervous system, and then they all start working together. And when you're born, you get to experience life. And it keeps getting more and more of these. And it's like, where are they coming from? They're being created right at this moment. Right at this moment, you are dancing inside of yourself because this energy is animating you. Do you know what the word for soul is? Soul, S-O-U-L. In Latin, it's anima. It's the root of the word animation. Your soul within you is a power source that's animating you, bringing you to life so that you can have senses, see, hear, feel, taste, touch. So we can say words and communicate with each other. It's mind-boggling that, first of all, it's mind-boggling. It's a miracle anything in life even exists, that out of nothing, everything you look around you, everything you see didn't exist at one point. And then, boom, this force brought to life more and more things in life. And not only does it bring them to life, Sid says, not only is it intelligent, but it's full. It's everything created is created from consciousness. So everything created has awareness because it's made of awareness. So he says that's a universal characteristic. If you took away the intelligence, there would be nothing to create you. If you took away consciousness, you wouldn't have any experience. You'd have no senses. And then he goes, we're thinkers. Every one of us. We're made from part of this power source is an infinite creative potential that knows how to create an infinite variety of experiences in each person. You get 100 people watching the same concert, same musician. You have 100 different experiences. That's the creative potential of thought. It allows us to be unique individuals with our own thought world, our own way of seeing life, our own way of perceiving life. I think it's very cool. Natasha and I were walking around an old Norwegian village today, and what we each got curious about was different, because the power of thought creates our uniqueness, our separate ways of thinking about life and perceiving life is so cool. Can you imagine how boring it would be if we all were perceiving exactly the same thing? I mean, I think it's very cool. I can go to a movie with my wife and watch a movie, and we see two different movies. I say, "What movie did you just see?" And it's different than mine. So I don't care that people see things differently from me, because now I understand that's always going to be true. I'm always going to have it created in me a different set of thoughts than created in you. So why argue? Can you imagine? Why take personally the fact that somebody else sees you differently than you see yourself? Of course, they're going to see you differently. If you ask 10 people how they see you, you'll see everybody sees you differently. Nobody sees you like you see yourself. So if somebody says, "Oh, you're so stupid, you're such a jerk," well, that's what they're thinking and seeing. Oh, that's interesting. And Sid added one more thing. He said, "What a gift that we're given free will, so that you get to decide if you're using this power of thought and you start realizing you're creating a very negative movie. Oh, life is horrible. This is hard. I can't stand it. Nobody likes me. Everybody's picking on me." You can go, "Oh, well, that's one thought movie I could use this power to create." If I know it's just a thought movie and I let it go, this incredible, creative, wise, loving power will create a new movie that's even better than the one you let go of. And then you get to decide which movie you want to live in. I just think that's cool. So Sid would say, if you have the three principles and you give human beings free will, it's unbelievable what's possible. That we get this divine gift, or these three divine gifts, and we get to use them however we want to create whatever kind of thought movie, individualized experience we want to live in or get to live in. And I tell you, I've made some of the movies in my head turned into horror movies, scared the shit out of me. And it was like, this is horrible. And my only mistake would be thinking that any movie I made up is the way life is. It's not the way life is. It's the way I'm thinking it up in this moment using the power of thought. You get to think up what kind of movie you live in. You're a free thinker. Sid would say this to us over and again. You're a free thinker with free will. Free thinker. I remember one of the first books to impress me was Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, where he interviewed I can't remember, 40,000, 60,000 people that had been in concentration camps like he did during World War II. And there were many people that learned, even in that horrific circumstance, that their greatest freedom was their capacity to choose what attitude they walked around in while they were in a hellish situation. And what movie we live in is what we live in more than the situation that we're in. The movie we're running in our heads is the one we're going to be experiencing. So his great discovery, and to his amazement, was many people came out of concentration camps more loving and compassionate than when they went in, because they learned holding on to a negative movie takes such a toll on our spirits and our energy and our physical being, that if you have no energy to spare, why would you waste it on creating a negative thought movie. I don't know. It's just Natasha and I have been sort of having fun about talking about everything in life is looking at life from a different conscious perspective. Every one of us. But Sid says, but we're free thinkers. That's the good news. You're not defined by your circumstance. You're defined by the degree of understanding you have that you live in a thought-created reality and that you have free will.
It's incredibly practical to know that this is true for each and every one of us. So when we work together, so this is our second book, one of the things we've learned about collaboration is that we don't always agree about things. Just this morning, we were talking about something and I was like, I don't see it that way, Dicken. And immediately Dicken goes, well, tell me how you see it. That is so different than what happens many places in the world where, well, let me tell you. Now, Dicken's been in this understanding for longer than me. It could be quite natural for him to say, well, look, I was taught personally by Sid. I was mentored personally by Sid. Let me tell you how it is. Dicken never does that. Every single time in all the years we've been working together, if I say something that is not the way that Dicken is seeing things, he just says, tell me how you're seeing it. And then we continue to reflect openly together until we find a common ground. Oh, wow. And then that's what gets into our books. It's that common ground. And it's a very different way of collaborating than many people do in businesses, in families, at couples, with couples. So this is incredibly practical just to know that we see things from different perspectives. And rather than making it into a conflict, what if we make it into enriching our lives? Isn't that cool? So that's one thing that's really practical about seeing the power of thought and how we're living in these thought-created realities. Another thing that Dicken touched on a minute ago was how he said that Sid was talking about how we're connected to this power source.
Mm.
Well, how's that practical? Well, let me tell you how it's practical for me. Knowing that my little intellect's going to try to work things out, and then getting a glimpse of, a sense of, and also just seeing again and again and again that when I don't know the solution to whatever issue whatever challenge I'm facing, I know that something knows. I know that if I allow my mind to quiet, at a certain point, something will come to me every single time. Just knowing that is amazing. It's so helpful to know that I don't have to work it out. In our collaboration, we do this very practically. Just today we were working, and at a certain point we were like, oh, close the computer. And we gotta deal with this tomorrow because we were getting into our intellects. Well, what do you think? Well, and you can feel it. You can sense when the intellect takes over. Do you know the feeling of tension? You all know the feeling when you're trying to work things out with this little mind. It feels tense, and because we know this, it's so practical. It's like there's no point in continuing down this road for any of us. It's not going to be a nice result. So what we've learned is to close the computer, and we left. We went out. We looked all over the old city of Fredrikstad. For you who are Norwegian, maybe you've been there. It's a beautiful little old town.
Beautiful.
And it was a beautiful day, and we had coffee, and a man invited us to a museum of old engines, boat engines. And he was very insistent. We were walking and he said, come to me to this place with all the boat engines. We were like, oh, we should go home. We should be back. We're doing a webinar. I said, no, it's only 5 minutes away. And so we agreed that let's go on this adventure. And then coming back here, something new and fresh comes. As soon as you allow yourself space. And now we were gone for a few hours, but sometimes it can be minutes. And it could be minutes of closing your laptop or just, I sometimes just lie down on my couch or my bed, and just for 10 or 15 minutes, I relax my mind. And at a certain point, it's like my body by itself just gets up. Oh, I know what to do now. Knowing that I am part of this universal intelligence. Knowing that it's who I am, it's who you are. It's not that I'm connected to it, I am it. I'm part of it. You are part of it. It's so helpful and it's so practical because it knows, it means that every time I find myself hitting my head into a wall because I don't know how to handle something, I know I'm doing it wrong. That feeling of tension is not telling me I'm stupid, I shouldn't be doing this, you're going in the wrong direction. It's just telling me I'm using my little mind instead of using the big mind. The big mind's here, always. But my little mind is keeping me small. And it's like I'm walking around, I'm looking through a keyhole, forgetting that there's something behind all of us, living all of us, that's right here. And all I need is to give myself a little space, a little opening, like when the clouds open a little bit and a sunbreak happens and the sun feels so nourishing. It feels so good when just a little bit of wisdom comes through my little intellect. Do you know that feeling when you get an insight? And I'm not talking about a huge insight about the nature of reality. I'm talking about little things, little daily things where you're struggling with something and then you go into the garden or you walk your dog or you chat with your children or something practical. And for a little moment, your mind comes off what you're fighting against. And instead, there's this opening. And in the opening, oh, you can just do this. Oh, why don't you just call this person? Or why don't you just go in this direction? And it comes with, have you noticed this? It comes with a sense of certainty. Not a sense of certainty, this is going to be my way or the highway, but a sense of, oh, that's true. Oh, that's simple. Oh, that's really easy. Whereas the intellect always comes with, well, you could do this, or you could call Fred, or you could go to Susan, or you could da-da-da. Have you noticed that? The intellect always comes up with different possibilities. It's always analyzing. It's always saying, well, you could do this, or you could do that. And we're used to that, you know. But when wisdom comes up as one. It comes up with a feeling. And the feeling is usually peaceful. It's usually a sense of just a yes. It doesn't have to come up with, fanfares and bubbles. It just comes up as oh, this is right. This is the way to go. This is true. And we all know this, don't we? We know the feeling of, yes, this is the right move. Even when the intellect says to us, but no, you can't quit your job because blah, blah, blah. You don't have money, or how are you going to pay your bills, or, So that's how you know when wisdom is speaking, when wisdom is moving you, when wisdom is telling you, knowing what to do. It comes with a feeling of, oh yeah, This is just it. Even if the intellect or your friends or your family go, no, don't quit your job, or no, don't leave that relationship, or whatever it is, there's just a feeling of certainty. So to me, those are some of the two most important things that I've learned in these years. Is one, to see how we're living in these thought created realities, and so when I believe my thinking, only when I believe my thinking do they seem true. It's just so profound to see that. But secondly, and even more importantly, at least in my life, is to know that I don't have to work it out. Oh, what a relief. It's such a relief, because there are a ton of things in my life, and I bet in your lives, that seem complicated, challenging, difficult. So to know that, okay, I don't know how to solve this, but something does. I can rely on something that's much larger than this little pea brain of mine. Knowing that, and knowing that all it takes for me to know the next natural move is to rest, to slow down, to take a break. And at a certain point, something new will come. It's practical as we're writing. We know when to take a break. It's practical in our own lives, in my relationship to my husband. Sometimes if something is difficult with us, we go for a walk, sometimes together, sometimes apart. But it's really practical to know that all this universal intelligence need is a little, sunbreak, a little break in the clouds, and it comes out with that beautiful feeling of knowing. It's the most intimate part of who we are, this knowing. But we've become so estranged from it sometimes that we don't even recognize it when it's here, or our intellect talks us out of what we know. How many of you have tried to talk yourself out of something that you knew was true? You knew it was true, and yet your intellect came in a minute after going, no, don't do that. Yeah, most of you know that feeling. Yeah.
Just to show you the simplicity, I have a friend who wrote a manual for kids and teachers and like 5, 6, 7-year-olds. You know how she talks about the principle of mind, that we're connected to a universal intelligence, that some people throughout the ages have called that universal intelligence wisdom. She talks about that every kid has a guide inside. The name of the book is My Guide Inside. You have a guide inside you. And when your mind quiets down of all the thinking that upsets you, you'll start to feel better. And when you feel better, this guide takes over and guides you so you have an easier time in life. Isn't that something? You can talk about the infinite universal intelligence that knows how to create all of life to a 4-year-old, 5-year-old. Say, when your mind quiets down with all that upset thinking, it's just thoughts that are making you upset. When that thinking quiets down, you're built to feel good. And when you feel good, you'll have all this. This guide will just help you deal with problems better, with your friends better, with people better. Sid would always try and simplify us for us intellects that were trying to complicate what he was talking about. And at the beginning or end of almost any talk, he'd say, all I'm ever telling you is to look within And beyond your thinking, always there's a quiet. It's always there. You don't have to quiet your mind down. Become aware of the quiet that's inside you already, always. You ever been in the ocean? You're up on the surface with the waves, all that thinking, and then you go a foot below the surface in the ocean and it's quiet? It's already there. You don't have to try and quiet your mind down. The quiet's already there. It's just underneath your thinking. So Sid would say, go beyond your thinking, or drop your thinking, or don't pay attention to your thinking, or ignore your thinking, and you can begin to feel that quiet in your soul. It's always here. Look within. There's a quiet. And if you notice in that quiet, feelings, no matter what you're feeling, if you don't think about it, it's just energy, and it'll start to open up, and that feels good. When energy opens, feels good. So he says, look within, there's a quiet, there's a feeling, and in that feeling, there's a knowing that will guide you. How simple can you get? That's the heart of all spiritual teaching anywhere in the universe. People from every culture have discovered that you're sitting in a cave in caveman time, and somebody develops fire, so you're just staring into the fire for hours at night, and your mind becomes very quiet and meditative, and suddenly you fall in love with everybody in your clan without even trying, even the people you don't like. It's an unconditional feeling of peace or happiness or love. So I'm doing a lot of work with African war refugees right now. And they're loving this notion that beyond their thinking, there's happiness inside. And what they came up with was a phrase it's spreading all through Africa. Happiness is free. Can't buy it. You don't need to try and buy it. You don't get it from outside of yourself. It's available inside of yourself. Not while you're thinking. You can't think your way to happiness. If I'm with my wife and thinking, nothing, I'm not there. I can't connect. Think of something you enjoy. While you're doing anything you're enjoying, you're not in your intellect. You're not in your head. If you think too much, your happiness will go away. You watch some of the best tennis players in the world, and they say, I used to love this game. Now I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. It's because they're thinking too much. And if you start thinking too much about anything you're doing, you'll lose the enjoyment. Do you know what I find extremely enjoyable? Washing the dishes. But if I start thinking about what I have to do or what I'm going to do next, or if I start thinking about my problems or my life, I will never enjoy washing dishes. I'll just want to get it over with. I worked with a man, I was telling Natasha today, I worked with a man who smoked cigars, and he was this rough and tumble guy and very gruff. And when his mind quieted down, he would say things like, do you know what I did today? Dicken, you're turning me into a wuss. While my wife was out, I went into the kitchen. I never go into the kitchen with my little girls, and we baked cookies together. He couldn't believe it. It's no one in his family growing up would have done that. No man he knew would have done that. And here he is. And he's saying, we're playing around, we're throwing flour on each other. Then he says, Dicken, I hated mowing the lawn. And I would be walking around thinking the whole time, I hate this, this is stupid. Why do I have to be doing this? I can't wait until my little girls grow up. They should be mowing the lawn. I shouldn't be doing this. And then he realized he was a thinker. and that he was a free thinker. And he started experimenting with not holding on to that thought and coming back to the present moment. And then one day he comes into a session, he said, Dicken, I had what I think people call a mystical experience. I say, what happened? He says, I was mowing the lawn, and I go, oh boy, here it comes. Because he would throw the lawnmower around cursing the whole time. He goes, I was mowing the lawn. Dicken, you know what? Suddenly I realized the grass is green. And I said, yeah. And he says, no, you don't get it, Dicken. I've never seen a color like this in my life. It was the most beautiful green. What's happening to me? Even right now, if I go for a walk outside in nature on a beautiful day with a friend, and we're doing a lot of thinking, we don't see beauty. We'll experience whatever we're thinking about while we talk, but we won't experience beauty, because it's only when our minds are present that people feel peace, joy, or love. People experience beauty. You can't think your way to peace or to joy or to love or to beauty, because you'll never find those things in your computer. You don't go to a computer for love. You don't marry your computer. You don't go to a computer for wisdom. You go to a computer because you can find very cool information. You can Google really cool shit, really cool. But you don't go for wisdom. You don't go for love. So Sid would say you have to close your laptop, come back to the present. And that's the only place you'll find peace, joy, love, creativity, insight, inspiration, motivation, clarity, perspective, common sense. Everything you're looking for as a human being, you already have inside you. You just have to get your personal thinking out of the way. And it's yours for free. It'll be given to you in a way that's helpful to you, not helpful to anybody else, but helpful to you.
It's also why sometimes when we share insights that we've had with other people, they don't have the same insight. Because wisdom, which is shared, comes out in us in the way that makes sense to us. So I might share an insight with Dicken and he goes, oh, for instance, this morning we were talking about one of my biggest insights was hearing Sid say, you must go beyond your five senses. I keep seeing that deeper. It's huge for me. It really it just hit me like a ton of bricks. That our senses constantly is keeping us in this world. It looks like this is a real person and you're all in little squares. And my senses are telling me that we're separate. Senses separate us. It's what they do. I can feel the boundary. So you must go beyond your senses. Your five senses is what Sid said. Now, I had a glimmer of that years ago. And Dicken was sharing that that's not
Never, that didn't do it for me.
Not that insight.
I didn't have that particular insight. I had other insights that did it for me, but not that one.
And so it's just to say that sometimes when we share this with others, like I know many of you do, we're trying to share our own insights. And Sid also said, you have to share what you've seen. So of course we're going to share what we see, but we can't expect another person to see that. There's a moment where something will come through and it can be something completely different. The amount of times that both I and Dicken, we've had a session with someone and they come back the next week and they said, oh, when you said da-da-da, we go, did I even say that? And we may, or we maybe we didn't, but they heard something. And it doesn't matter what people hear. Another thing that Sid said that really resonates with me now is that it's not in the words. It's it comes with what we've seen, because what we've seen resonates as part of our being. It's almost like sometimes I like to think of it as a vibration, or like we're a tuning fork. And the vibration I resonate with from what I've seen can be felt in another person. And it's much stronger than any words that we use. So sometimes, especially in the beginning, when we come to this understanding, at least it was this way for me, I was so, okay, I gotta speak about the 3 principles exactly right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Share what you've seen. If you've seen this much, I bet you it's this much more than the next person. And this much goes a long way, much longer way than we think. It's sometimes it's the slivers of knowing that sometimes reaches another person, not through the words, but through feeling, through knowing.
For the first 2 years when I learned the principles, I never talked about consciousness or mind because it was too intellectual. But boy, I could talk about what insights I had about thought and a quiet mind, and then feeling better. And then when I felt better, having common sense. That's all I taught for the first 2 years because that's all I saw. I didn't teach what Sid said. I taught what I learned for myself that was helpful. And it helped people big time. So
You were sharing with me earlier 3 things that paper was saying, the research was saying.
we're finding out from research that when people go from feeling very, very tormented and unhappy or depressed or anxious, even having psychiatric diagnoses, bipolar, schizophrenia, that when those people hear something from the principles that changes their life so that they start living in well-being instead of living in tormented thinking. And what we're finding out from that kind of research is that there's 3 things that really turn the corner for most people. The first one is, I'm living with this power of thought. And if I understand how that works, I can use my free will to more and more let go of negative movies so that positive ones can be created. That really can make a huge difference. It made a huge difference in my life. I went from being incredibly anxious to, even after my first class in the principles, I had about 60% less anxiety just from learning that I'm the thinker. And that when I feel anxious is helpful. So the first thing is to understand more deeply that we're connected to a power of thought and we're the thinker. We get to utilize this power however we want. It's a gift given to us. Okay, here's your gift. Go create your reality. The second thing that really helps people is it's a way of talking about the principle of mind, that we're connected to an intelligence that knows when we're open and receptive to it, it will always generate psychological well-being. That everybody had, so we call this having innate well-being. And if you get a little glimpse that that's true, like when Sid looked at me and said, Dicken, you're not broken. No matter what happened to you in your life, right now, you're sitting in the middle of well-being and you don't know it because you're so caught up in your thinking and thinking that that's your whole life. It's just what you're thinking. It's not who you are. You let go of your thinking, you'll see your well-being is right there and it'll come forward. You'll feel better. For no reason. It's built into you. It's free. I started crying. I had been a psychologist 10 years. No one had said that to me, and I'd never heard that say that to anybody else. You have perfect well-being inside of you. You're connected to the intelligence that knows how to create the universe. And you have as much access to that wisdom as anybody. You just don't realize it. If you did, you'd be falling open and seeing what that intelligence brought you right at this moment. If you had a problem, you wouldn't think about what to do. You'd go, okay, wisdom, bring me something, in a sense. Some people call it prayer. Okay, I turn this over to you. God, what do I do? And you wait, and then it brings you what you need, a feeling, a way of seeing things differently, a new thought, a new idea, a new something. So Sid would say, look for new and fresh. That's the second thing, to begin to really key in on you're connected to an intelligent source that will bring you well-being, no matter who you are and no matter what you've been through. And the third thing we've been finding out in the research is that thank God we feel stressed and tense and upset. That's wisdom's way of loving you by letting you know. It's like an alarm clock going off, letting you know you're caught up in negative thought, and is trying to wake you up out of that thinking so that you become open in the present moment so that love and wisdom can flow through you again. Letting you know that there's a difference between being closed-minded, caught up in your thinking, and not holding a single thought, and being open-minded. What are we open to? This universal flow of life energy that brings us feelings that uplift and a knowing that guides us. So 3 things, really simple. You get to use the power of thought as you want. And if you start realizing you have that power, you're connected to it, you have free will. You already have what you're looking for. You have perfect well-being, but for your thinking. It wouldn't matter what you were feeling. It'd just come and go, and you'd keep living in a flow of inspiration and insight and new and fresh ideas and thoughts, and you'd be wide open to life. As my daughter says, you'd be living life large. And the third thing is, there's no mistakes. You don't have to feel bad about feeling bad. Feeling bad is nature's way of letting us know, reminding us, like a friend, tapping me on the shoulder as I'm starting to step out in traffic in front of the cars coming the wrong way in some countries. I looked the wrong way. Literally, Natasha and my wife have saved my life by grabbing me and pulling me back. Well, wisdom grabs you. You get stressed and anxious and upset, and it's trying to pull you back to the now, bring you back to the curb, mind the gap, come back to your grounding, come back to your presence, and then you'll have all the feeling and knowing you need to help guide you through whatever challenges you're faced, no matter how difficult. Because a lot of the people I work with are in horrific life circumstance, and to find their well-being and that inner guidance to help them navigate the insanity that's all around them, the violence, the threats, the all of that. Talking to people in the Ukraine and in the Middle East and Africa, as they learn to rely on wisdom to uplift and guide. It's powerful. They become my teachers, big time. So 3 things. Power of thought is yours to use while you're given this precious gift of human life. You already have well-being, but for your thinking, you'd be experiencing it more often. Even when you feel horrible, when I'm not thinking about feeling horrible, it doesn't feel bad. I feel bad, but it doesn't feel bad. I don't mind being bummed out or sad or upset if I'm not judging it, labeling it, telling myself I shouldn't feel that way. What's wrong with me? I thought you knew the principles. It's just thought. Drop it, Dicken, drop it. That's ego. That's personal thinking that makes you insane. So if you ignore that thinking, you get to experience all kinds of things, and it's not so bad. It's just accepting life as it is, as Sid would say, seeing life as it is. And then, thank God, we have signals to wake us up over and over again. I love that. I don't feel bad about stressing out now. I go, thank you. Thank you. Honestly, thank you for reminding me I'm connected to love and wisdom. Thank you for waking me back up to the present moment. Sid would say, if you really see that it's thought, it'll bring you right back to the present moment. Why would I hold on to this thought if it keeps creating misery? Boom. Present moment. And then wisdom takes over. Wisdom kicks in, automatic pilot.
So we started by saying, what if life could be easier than you think? And what we're pointing towards is, or what the principles are pointing us towards, is the foundation of our psychological well-being. We're not looking to what has already been created. We're looking to what is doing the creating. We're looking at how we're already what we're looking for. It's one thought away. We're sitting in complete mental health, but for what we think. So it's been really wonderful being with you tonight or today for some of you. It's night here, and we hope that maybe you heard something in a new way or a little differently. And we hope that you will continue to share in any way that feels right to you with other people, because this is such a hopeful message. I was visiting Elsie Spittle on Salt Spring Island a few years ago, and I was saying in Danish we have a saying that each bird sings with their beak, and we all speak from what we've seen. We all speak in our different voices. So I really want to encourage you to go out there and share what you've seen. Even if you've seen this little will go a long way. Share that. Share what's authentic to you. Share what you've truly seen. And I guarantee you will touch somebody else's heart, and hopefully they will be able to then see something more about the foundation of their psychological well-being. So thanks everyone for being here, and
I hope we'll be seeing some of you in person this weekend.
yeah.
We're really looking forward to doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here in Norway. So hope we can see some of you in person. That'd be lovely. And thank you everybody for just showing up and just continuing to just listen. And don't worry about what you don't get or don't understand or doesn't make sense. That's just thinking you can ignore. And just be grateful for anything at all that's helpful to you. And rest in that understanding until you see something different or more. So just